Welcome to another Be Your Own Boss. I'm your host, David Gamble, where we discuss a person's life and career. Quickly before I get to the interview, um, if you're interested in hearing more about people's experience of becoming their own boss, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Our guest today is someone I've known for close to 5 years and is the managing partner for SMG Consulting, Sergio Cecutta, if I'm getting that correctly. And
Perfect.
welcome and greetings, Sergio.
No,
And just to get us started, kind of run down your kind of your history, your background, how you got into what you're doing today, aviation in general, and just what led you to this point.
sure. So I am the managing partner at SMG Consulting. We are a boutique consulting firm that provides strategic and business advice to the entire ecosystem throughout the aerospace, defense, and auto tech industries. We have been alive for 14 years, and we have um, basically work with almost everyone in this industry. How did we get to where we are? So I've always loved aerospace. So I knew I wanted to do airplanes when I was maybe like 10 years old. And so when the time came to finish college, aerospace engineering, PhD. And then from there, I started working in the US at Honeywell. And at Honeywell Aerospace, I started as an engineer and left as the person in charge of strategy and planning for all of the commercial aerospace businesses. And then after that, I went to Danaher, where I was in charge of strategy and planning for 1/3 of the businesses. And then after that, I did say to myself, why don't I am my own boss? And that is where I founded SMG Consulting, and we added more and more partners until now we have these 10 folks that cover those three industries.
Gotcha. Now, you said at 10 years, what 10 years old, what triggered you? What's the event that you could like put your finger on?
Well, I mean, I always had in mind that I wanted to try to see if I could have, if I could be my own boss. It's got a lot of pros and it's got the cons that if you hate your boss, it stays with you the whole day, even at night. But the idea was if I have to do all this work, why not try to capture the entire value that comes out of this work? And that
Gotcha.
I think was the start of the idea.
Was the start of the idea, but what about just aviation in general when you were growing up as a young pup? What was that? What was that thing at 10 years of age that kind of said aviation, yeah, flying wings or flying aircraft really is what drove you?
Yeah, I mean, if I have to put the finger on it, I mean, when I was little, I like robots, airplanes, and cars. And I guess the robots were not possible. The cars were kind of not as exciting, and that left aviation, and that's where we are. And again, I mean, I was a kid that grew up with the introduction of the rollout of the B2, the unveiling of the F-117, the
Oh,
Su-27, the MiG-29. I mean, it were exciting time. And then we're followed by about 25, 20 years of more of the same.
right.
Things are getting exciting again, both on the commercial side and on the military side, for very different reasons.
All right. You grew up in Italy,
I did grow up in Italy, correct? But I
Rome
moved
or Milan or
Rome. I spent it my whole adult. Basically, I grew up in Rome, and then I moved to the U.S. Barely out of college.
gotcha. All right. Well, tell me more about the consulting business you're doing and how's it changed over the years and what struck you and what's the prognosis for what is to come.
Yeah, I mean, so the consulting business. I mean, what was always interesting to me, I grew up in a corporate culture that I can summarize with the words "whoever knows most wins." And so I've always been data driven and interested in gathering as much data as possible from an interest point of view. And so that kind of it's basically the definition of consulting. And so that's basically where we got into this. At the beginning, we started with different parts of aerospace, and we continued to expand to the defense side. And then, as far as my own personal practice, it came about 2016. It was the time of Uber Elevate. It was interesting. Read the white paper, thought there was promise there, and and long story short, it basically got us to be one of the largest consulting firm in advanced air mobility. And we made it the point to try to do two things: understand the industry as much as possible, as well as trying to read between the line of the industry and explaining what is going on. Because many times this industry is aggressively optimistic on their progress and milestones.
Gotcha. Now, now being your own boss, how's besides, just being your own boss, what other benefits do you feel like, a person wanting to start their own business would see the benefits from doing that?
So, I mean, I would say number one, I mean, so I always say that the difference between working for someone and working for yourself, or a part of a company that you own, is the difference between a modern man and a caveman. The modern man is eating lunch without any worries about dinner because they can either have it in their fridge or they can call DoorDash. The caveman, instead, when he was eating lunch, was already worrying that there might be no food for dinner. And so there is this thing where when you work in corporate, someone gives you the task and then you just work on them. When it comes to being your own boss, you need to continuously think about what is next. It's not something that fits every personality, but at the same time, I think that it is something that is very interesting because it allows to choose the direction of where you want to go. And I think that is always very interesting and very exciting.
Do you think you always knew who you were while you were in corporate world or, working for someone else? Did you feel like one of the things that you needed to do was to strike out and make sure you identify who you are as a person is
Well,
one of the features of being your own boss?
I mean, there was always something in the back of my mind that said, how would this work? But at the same time, it's a big leap to take. And you trade. It's a little bit like every risky investment. You
Yeah.
trade high potential for upside and downside, as opposed to something small and steady. And I think it requires a specific kind of personality that I don't think it fits everyone on this planet.
Do you think that's that 10% rule or 1% rule that certain people have and certain people don't? You don't think is there or is that something that somebody can be taught?
I mean, I didn't start saying, let me see what it means to have my own business. I mean, out of the gates. I mean, I think it's very much depends in the environment you grow up with. It depends in the school you go to, who you're surrounded with. And so I wouldn't say, I mean, can it be taught? Yes. But there is a certain level of personality that comes with it. But at the same time, I mean, let's be honest, no one of us has the same personality throughout our lives. Our personalities change, and not just change from when you were young to when you become older. It also changed from when you become older to when you become very old. So the personality, it's not this constant that I think a lot of people think it is.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've gone through those, I call it aha moments. So I don't know if those are ones that kind of like triggered. That's kind of like triggered you to take on more responsibility than maybe you thought you had, or maybe thinking to the point, I know what's going on, so why aren't they doing why aren't they taking this road instead of that road? There's been moments in my life where it's kind of like you have so much under your belt as far as experience, and is there moments in yours that kind of trigger you to say, hey, it could have been something that just, it was almost like an opportunity, and you never taught to feel that, but when you do come across that, did you have those type of moments?
Yeah, I mean, at certain point in your corporate career, if once you climb the ladder, you will find yourself in a position that I always jokingly say, it's high enough for you to look and see everything, but you're not high enough to influence it. And that can be a frustrating moment where you can see everything that's being done because now you're at the point where you have access to that information, but you're not at the point where you can do something about it. And so that can be frustrating.
Yeah, I've been in those situations where I see it. I tell either the director or VP or whatever, whoever I have access to, and one thing or another, they're trying to protect their own territory or whatever the situation is. They think that you're not giving them, or they know about it but they don't want to do anything about it, type of thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of personalities, there's a lot of strategy, there's a lot of pieces that go into it. But I mean, at certain point, when you get there, you say, "What if?"
Yeah, what if, right? What if I did it, I had that position? So is there any other examples or events in your career that kind of maybe influenced, or persons that influenced where how you're heading?
I mean, I mean, I've always been very cognizant of the fact that, I mean, even when I was younger, I mean, I thought I knew a lot, but I was never one of those that knows it all. And I think life is it's a little bit like being in a helicopter. That means the higher you go, the more you see, but the more you know that you don't see. So so it was
More
always
you
interesting.
repeat that again. More you
Oh,
see.
it's the higher you go, the more you see, but you're also aware of the fact that there is a lot more out there that you don't know.
Correct, correct. The
So
unknown. It's the known unknowns and the or yeah, known
yeah,
unknowns.
it's an interesting one, right? And
Yeah.
and I mean, I've been blessed to have very great mentors that are still friends. That have, it's like those sentences that they tell you, and when they told you, you thought like, wow, that's annoying, and then you go like, yeah, it's annoying, but you're right. So let me do this way. But I think at certain point in your career, I mean, if you've done well, I think it comes the time where you do something that is really a big deal for your company, and you say, "What if I had done it for my own?"
Right. Well, yeah, it's kind of like the 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 rewards. The rewards are a little smaller for working for a company, but you get more rewards if you really put in the work for yourself, right? You
Yeah, and I
reap
mean,
more of the
and
benefit.
I would say in corporate in general, the higher you go, the more important becomes how you move around the company rather than what you know. So I think that there is that the shift at certain point in the career.
Well, yeah, I've always said it's not what you know, it's who you know when you get up to a certain level. And garnering the right friends. I don't know if it's right friends is the right word, but right colleagues to
I
be
mean,
able to
that
get you
is
in those
it's
positions.
one of the reasons why we make sure to know everything possible. So and everyone possible. So we got all the good friends.
Yeah, yeah, that's always been my case. Is like it's never becoming. the knowledge base is becoming on, okay, why is he doing that, or why are they doing that, and what's the end game for them? It's kind of like, it's almost like playing chess, 3D chess maybe. I've never played 3D chess, but I see I heard it's hard. Um, any other recommendations or anything that you've seen in your career that's influenced you beyond your mentor, or companies, or things like of that nature?
Well, I mean, I think the last thing, especially when it comes to consulting, is you need to get to a point where, I mean, it's easy to put the word consulting on any resume, but I think you need to get to a point where you have been senior enough to learn all the pieces of the business you want to consult on before you call yourself a consultant. I think that's an important piece of the pie. I mean, the reason that people hire consultant it's because you know something they don't know,
Correct.
and I think that's the thing that's very important.
Now, as a consultant, does it feel like you need to have every aspect between wanting to know the business, how the business operates, and also how finance works, or how, I guess you call it capital, works, and how that error interacts?
Well, I mean, it depends, right? I mean, there is engineering consultants. It's a different story for us with strategy and business. I mean, it's you need to know everything. I mean, to me, that's the thing. I mean, you need to know supply chain, you need to know finance, you need to know HR, you need to know the technology side. You need to know enough of engineering to be able to talk to the engineers, but you don't need to design it. I mean, and it's a lot easier to hear someone tell you an engineering problem and go, okay, I see. That's how you solved it, as opposed to solving it yourself. And I think when you become multifaceted like that, then you become a better asset to the people because you get all of the different point of views when it comes to looking at certain problems.
Well, we touch on, do you have any aspects where you mentor someone else, or have a way of, kind of passing the knowledge? I wouldn't know if it's called knowledge, but maybe the basics of how to interact in the best ways to get your point across. Because I know storytelling to me is always a key point for communication, and kind of understanding where an engineer or even a CEO is coming from.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
they have so
so
much lofty ideas, it's kind of hard to pin it down.
well, I mean, I would say two things. I mean, when it comes to pass on the knowledge, I make it a point anytime I move to find a business school the biggest college that there is in the town, and then to volunteer with their entrepreneurship competition, their business school. I mean, to me, I'm a big believer that if you have out of your own capabilities and luck, because luck always plays a role, being able to be in a position where you have fortunate to do something that is unique, it's different. I think it's important to pass on some of this knowledge to some of the younger folks. And the way that I see it is, if I had known what I always think is, if I had known this when I was 20 years younger, would I have done something different? And I have seen, a lot of the younger folks that are very eager. They ask a lot of questions, and I always welcome it. Because to me, I mean, when it comes to knowledge, it's a pay forward or pay backwards. Don't know which one, but it's
Right.
it's important to do that.
Well, I've always heard that term, a student's ready, the teacher will appear, kind of a thing. So sometimes um, it has to be a series of events to a certain extent for a person to grasp the knowledge that they're being given, because just giving them the knowledge is not enough. So is that something you've encountered as well?
Well, I mean, there is a difference between mentorship and being a teacher. So as a teacher, it's a little bit like the difference between watering a whole garden versus a bonsai. So when you're a teacher, you're just watering the whole yard, and some parts are going to be more fertile, some parts are going to be more arid, etc., etc. When you are mentoring someone, it's more of a bonsai. I mean, the reason that they wanted to have a mentor, it's because they want to learn. So, and then, I mean, how much pain they can withstand out of your recommendation, that's a different story. But they're more receptive to what you say.
What is your philosophy on weaknesses and strengths? Do you recommend concentrating on weaknesses or just improving your strengths, or a combination?
Well, I mean, I'm of the idea that, I mean, if you're strong in something, you usually know what it is. It's your weaknesses that many times are blind spots where you don't even know that they're weaknesses, and so you should concentrate on those. And the unfortunate thing is, when you look from within, everything always looks good.
Yes.
And so you always have to have people around you, and you don't have to be shy to say, "Hey, is there anything that you think I can improve?" And you don't have, you have to take it as when people make mistake, right? And saying a mistake was made. No, you made a mistake, and so you can do better at this, and it shouldn't be something that you take personally as a failure. You should see something as a lesson. I mean, one thing I've learned throughout my career, it's that when I was younger, I thought the successful people never fall, never fail. And then I learned the successful people fail and fall, but they stand up quickly and they continue to go forward, because unfortunately in life everyone's fall. It's just a matter of time.
Well, do you think everybody falls the same? I mean, it is the exercise, I mean, I've always do act and then review, because you have to learn it, you have to do it so you know that you did it, but if you did it wrong, you have to learn from your mistakes rather than somebody telling you that you made a mistake.
I think maybe the thing to say is, does everyone falls the same? Maybe, but not everyone stands up the same, because sometimes there is comfort in being on the ground
For at least another couple of seconds
or at least
while
another
you're
couple of seconds. Amen.
while you're
Yes,
nursing your wounds.
yes, for sure.
But all right. So what's the future looking like for Sergio? What's next? I mean, I know you've been doing this for over 10 years, so what's the next phase? Do you have a next phase, or just continue what you're doing?
Well, I mean, what I'm doing, I think it's interesting. And the other part is, as we said at the very beginning, being the master of your own destinies allows you to move in other directions. I mean, that's one of the things with entrepreneurs, the successful one, they always go, oh, this other opportunity. Oh, there is this other opportunity. And so if you keep looking around, I mean, there is space to create many more businesses or many more parts of the business. But I mean, for me, knowledge is interesting. So when it comes to these, there is we look at the new fields, the impacts of AI. I
Right.
mean, it's always this thing, especially when it comes to consulting. It's or any industry, is you can either replace yourself or wait for someone to replace you.
That's the case of not being replaced, right? So it's kind of like, if you don't set your destiny. Well, that goes back to people that are working for themselves as compared to people working for others. Do you see a dynamic shift in the way people are going to be working in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I
Um,
mean, it's especially if you look at the new generation. I mean, this idea of a work for life is completely gone, right? But even the idea of a few jobs for life is gone. So now you look at these resumes and they might have 10, 15 employers in like, a span of 15 years. And so I think it's a more dynamic work environment in which that previous contract of you take care of me, I take care of you doesn't exist anymore. And so the reality is that even inside a company, more and more people are becoming their own mini entrepreneur, because they know that they need to take control of their career,
right.
or it's not going to happen.
Do you see that that's a sea change that you need to, when you do bring up or talk to young folks, that there is this, lack of continuity in their careers, that they
I
need to
think
start
that
looking out for their own?
I think they themselves know that really well. I mean, I think there's a I think the difference between the later the youngest generation and maybe our generation is that with this continuous and instantaneous access to information, I think that they're more jaded about the world than we might have been when.
Right. I mean, do you see that they'll have to fend for themselves, like you mentioned about the difference between a modern day person and a caveman? Is there going to have to be
Probably.
like a hybrid?
Probably. I mean, I think it is, and I think I hear a lot of folks. I mean, doing these gigs in which they might have a job during the day, but they might do something that they like out of the working hours, and sometimes those gigs become a new career.
Well, it could be a new career, or at least for the next 5 to 10 years, right? Who's to say that a person would have to reinvent themselves unless they hit the lottery or they hit a something where they can sustain themselves for a given period of time to switch over to something else.
Well, I mean,
Um,
the idea here is you always have to reinvent yourself. So that's the thing, right? Like we don't have a constant personality. I think it's important always to reinvent yourself. Um, in this culture in our culture today, it's more of a what have you done for me lately? I mean, people get bored of anything and everything, right? So
right, right. Well, do you see that that's a waning on what the AAM, the AAM community is having right now? Is it waning? Do you see
I mean, I
another
don't
10 years of
know.
it?
I mean, I mean, maybe the excitement that was there at the beginning might have reduced, but at the same time, I mean, we need to see this as a piece of aerospace, and it's just a continuously evolving. And I mean, it's always more exciting when you have a lot of news and stuff that's happening. I mean, the truth is, it's cool to talk about the recipe, but at certain point, you got to start cooking it, and cooking it might not be as interesting. And where you're talking about all the ingredients and what you're gonna do. So anytime you see one of these shows, they always cut when they're cooking so that you can get to the end.
Well, I thought you were going to talk about till the waitress serves it to your table, because I don't see them flying around yet.
No, 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 no. They're not. I mean, this EIPP is gonna be an interesting thing, and it's any day we should know how is it going to work. And I think that that's going to be something that's very interesting because we're all looking forward to understand how that can help the industry. I mean, I don't think there is any doubt that it will help the industry. It's how it will help the industry. I think it's going to be another big point.
Well, it's kind of don't you think it's like a symbiosis? It has to be part of the systems, or it has to be part of the overarching, I don't want to say general aviation, but I think over the overarching aviation industry and as a whole.
I mean, it was always a piece of aerospace. I mean, this is the thing. I mean, I think at the beginning, a lot of the people saw it as tech. It's not tech; it's aerospace. I mean, it's governed by the same rules as the rest of aerospace, and we're doing AI throughout all of aerospace. And so it's just that that some of these companies were born in Silicon Valley. But again, I mean, tech it's something that is much quicker and that allows for more. There's more leeway to errors than we allow in aerospace. Um, so
Well, yeah. Well, I've always had you've probably seen it probably more than I have, but I did see this a little schism between the big OEMs and the startups, because it's always been like, oh, we don't want to hire a guy, ex Boeing guy, or we don't want to hire a guy from Northrop Grumman, or because they're too set in their ways. Um,
well, I mean, at the
do you
same
think
time, I
that's
mean, I mean, I can tell you, I've seen more and more companies valuing the experience of those folks. I mean, this is the thing. If you work for a software in the software industry, in 5 years, you can go through 20 different programs. If you work in aerospace, in 20 years, you probably have gone through 5 different programs. So, I mean, there is
if you're
no
lucky,
substitute. If
if
you're
you're
lucky,
lucky,
exactly. So, there's no substitute for time in order to go through all of these programs. And so, I think that there is a recognition in some part of the industry that this expertise is important. Other
yes,
parts of the industry just hire according to the resume. Have you worked for one of the hottest companies? If you got Tesla, if you got Apple, if you got SpaceX, then I'm going to hire you. Are
right,
you a good manager? Do you know what we're doing? It doesn't matter. Your resume says SpaceX, you're the best.
right. So, well, interesting, Sergio. Very interesting. Any final thoughts before we conclude the podcast for the audience?
No, I mean, in general, I would say, what I have seen is, and I've read a lot, is that when it comes to doing your own thing, is always 10% ideas and 90% grit. So it's the idea. A lot of people have ideas. You can even say everyone's got an idea. The problem is just the beginning stage where you're gonna fight the inertia. That is where you gotta say, I'm gonna stick to it. This is gonna be good.
Now, you make a good point, and I'll kind of. So, when do you? What is your guiding principle when it comes to how do you pivot? But so, if you know you're going down this path and it's not going where you thought it was, what tells you that's you're going too far, rather than persevering, um, knowing that there's something over the hill?
Well, I mean, it's if you're doing something that you have expertise for, I think I mean, it's going to work out. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, you have to have specific ideas. I want to make this much money. I want to hire. I want to, do this many programs, et cetera, et cetera. And if it doesn't happen, you need to recognize, okay, maybe this is not for me. But at the same time, I would also say don't err on the other side where you go, oh, I tried for 6 months, this is not working.
Well, yeah, I've heard that tell. I've heard people going after and saying, if I don't accomplish this in 6 months, I'm out of here, regardless whether or not maybe that 6 months plus one day it all just broke open, right? And
Yeah, I
that
mean,
one. So how do you? I mean, that's always been my problem is I have to feel if it's going to go somewhere, and is it that next day, that next call, or that next whatever is going to change my mind about it. And it's kind of sometimes you just don't know. You just almost have to feel it.
yeah, I mean, it's always that there's always that fight between did I put enough time or am I putting too much time?
Yes,
I
exactly.
mean, what I know is that maybe 6 years is too much, 6 months is too little. You got to figure it out according to what you're
Somewhere
doing.
in between there. 6 months does sound a little bit too short, but then again, depending on what that is.
True,
So,
true.
sure. All right. Thanks, Sergio. I appreciate you joining me. And thanks, everyone, for joining us. And I appreciate you. And then stay tuned for the next podcast. Take
Thank you,
care.
David.